How you doing out there? How you doing? This is the Frankie Russo pre-show. I took my damn what the I thought I left my cap on. I thought I left my cap on. Yeah, I'm in this, engrossed in all this stuff over here. Frankie Russo pre-show number 86. America's Team today. RussoNation.tv. You got to join America's Team and get a T-shirt. I'm putting it together. We're going to do something great for the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. So bear with me on this. It's good. Believe me when I tell you, okay? So we're doing a pre-show. Now, I go through articles every day, and I find these articles, and they're really interesting. I get all engrossed, and before you know it, it's about 11:50, and it's time for me to go on the air. So this is where I'm at, all right? So let me get myself together. I want to get my white. I got the whiteboard over here, as always. I didn't even get a chance to take it out of the wrapper. Oh, man. So, but anyway, hope all is good. I want to go over some interesting stuff. I don't know, man. It's crazy stuff out there, you know? Damn, this stuff is good. Fruit punch. Like my friends say, can't go wrong with that. But anyway, I'm getting this whiteboard unwrapped. So we got, I work on this model every day. I add to it, take away from it. Did you all see that freaking interview with Bomber at 60 Minutes? Was that crazy? My God. I don't know, man. Nobody's held accountable anymore. Nothing. Nobody's held accountable anymore. So I'm just getting this. I wrapped this thing. This thing is, this is my. I bought a 3x4. I think a 3x4 board too. Then I got a world map that I'm dying to really give you all an idea of what's going on. I want to bring that into this mix. I laminated it. I just got to get a board, which they told me they got. So, with the help of God, I'm going to bring that thing in here too. Okay, so this is the whiteboard. Okie doke. Here we go. All right, so just so everybody understands, I'm going to start with the whiteboard like I always do. This is the model. Bomber, fraudulent sector service card, illegal president, statistically significant Sheriff Joe and the Coke posse. Okay? Bomber enters into a memorandum of understanding with the Clinton Foundation. We know all this. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Now, Russia's involved, as we know. So Russia's connected to this thing. In addition, Iran, the global terror network, obviously, is connected with the Clinton Foundation because we're going to follow the money, $105,000. Everybody says that's peanuts, but it's money. $105,000, and the Clinton Foundation refuses to return it. The Levy Foundation, which was deemed by court papers in the judge's decision to be Iran, owns interest with Asset Corporation at Bank Mellon of Iran, 650 Fifth Avenue building, which is 53rd Street and 5th Avenue in Manhattan. It was forfeited over to the United States government, and the court papers in the judge's decision deems the Levy Foundation to be Iran, the Iranian government. So they took $105,000 from the Iranian government, and they refused to return it till today. And in addition, the Levy Foundation, which is the Iranian government, gave over $1.4 million to the Blind Chiefs Mosque. And we know what happened over there. 1993 World Trade Center bombing, September 11th, unfortunate attacks, Holy Land Foundation trial, that's Hamas financing, 650 Fifth Avenue building, the whole thing. Muhammad Al Mawad, he's the Yemen Sheikh, the terror financier. So this is a crazy thing, money laundering, illegal money transmitting. So a lot of things went on in the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, Muhammad Al Anuni. We mention every week in the Jersey City Mosque, and then we got the Musa Abu Marzouk, who's involved with Muhammad Al Anuni with the Holy Land Foundation trial and Hamas financing. Because Musa Abu Marzouk is number 2 in Hamas, last time I checked. That's one transaction that Obama turned a blind eye to. He just entered into this agreement with the Clinton Foundation, and that brings him into the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. Now, next transaction, in 2007, there was a capturing of the Iranian Quds Force leaders, 5 of them, in Erbil, Iraq. According to the State Department, we say it every week. According to the State Department, the Iranian Quds Force was posing a major threat to the men and women of the armed forces of the United States Armed Forces fighting a fight for us in Iraq. So that's why they detained them for over a year and a half. Obama gets in, he mysteriously releases the 5 Quds Forces back in the field, putting human assets back in the field. And then we got the Bergdahl trade. And we went through the Bergdahl trade last week. We broke it down with Qatar to the terror financier deemed by the United States Treasury Department in a press release, Al Numani, a Qatari national, giving over $2 million to Al Qaeda in Iraq, ISIS, indefinitely. He gave it to them, $2 million, according to the United States Treasury Department. This is the United States Treasury Department press release. Statistically significant. Everything here that I've over is statistically significant. Court papers, judges' decisions, Kelly Moore article, Lewis and Clark Law Review Journal. This is all statistically significant data. Outside looking in. Remember, we're on the outside looking in, so I'm breaking it down. And then we got in addition, Al Numani, the Qatari national, deemed by the United States Treasury Department press release, is a terror financier, gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to al-Zawahiri. Now, al-Zawahiri, as we came to find out, is an Al-Qaeda affiliate living in Iran. Zahedin, Iran. In addition, like we said, Bergdahl, everybody wants to talk about Bergdahl. Nobody wants to talk about the 5 Afghan Taliban that were released into Qatar. And according to Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer on the Bill O'Reilly show, $5 billion plus the 5 Afghan Taliban went to Qatar. Are you kidding me? Now, is that statistically significant? Yes. Do I have a check with Qatar's the government of Qatar's name on it from Barack Obama, illegal president of the United States? No. This is from Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer on the Bill O'Reilly show. Okay? And then we got through the Weekly Standard, Zahedin, Iran is where the Afghan Taliban has their office. And at the time, Mullah Omar, who's their supreme leader of those 5 Taliban, he's the supreme leader of the Afghan Taliban, and he has an office in Iran. So there it is, Iran again. So why are we doing this? Because I'm getting out to the Hamas, Palestinian Authority government in Syria that I want to talk about tonight. So why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? I'm breaking it down, all these transactions. Why? I mean, this is the only way we're going to show what's going on over here. The only way, I mean, there's going to be, let's face it, unless there's a smoking gun on one of these servers that they overlooked, some sort of document that really implicates everybody. I don't know how we're going to stop this. They're inside. They've infiltrated it from different. We have a president in the White House. We don't even know where this guy's from, let alone he's got a fraudulent Secret Service card and he's the United States Commander in Chief. Statistically significant. It's crazy, right? So we don't know. We don't know. So that's why we break it down. So we're looking for a pattern. We're going to thread this. We're going to thread the needle, so to speak. We're looking for a pattern, and there is. Everything is at the end of it seems like a capitulation. Obama wrote what's his name, Khomeini, 4 letters. I know of one before he got in, and he's written 4 according to Fox News. And basically, he wants this deal with Iran. So basically, he's going to do whatever he can to get this Iranian nuke deal, which we know is fake. It just doesn't make any sense, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Giving Iran $150 billion, the head of the global terror network, Iran is, and we're giving them $150 billion back. Crazy stuff. This is insane. Besides the imploding of the United States economy, the collapse of the United States dollar, this is the biggest threat to our way of life. So I'm up to now. We did the Afghan Taliban with Mullah Omar living in Iran. We got Al Numani from Qatar. He's a Qatari national, giving money not only to Al Qaeda in Iraq, which is, for all intents and purposes, according to all mainstream press, Al Qaeda in Iraq is ISIS. According to United States Treasury Department press release, Ministry of Iranian Security provided material support to Al Qaeda in Iraq. Money and weapons. ISIS. So basically, the Obama administration has been capitulating to Iran, giving them everything they want. Iran doesn't want anything coming out west from Iraq, any Sunni militia that they have no control over. So ISIS is there. They have control over ISIS. They're controlling ISIS. So any Sunni militia that comes out of Iraq that isn't under Iranian control, they're going to take care of it. That's my feeling based on the data that I have. Obviously, I'm not over there in Iraq. I'm not over there in Iran. I'm not over there in Syria. But truth be told, outside looking in, the footprint that Iran has in this entire global terror network is enormous, and nobody wants to talk about it. I'm watching the interview on 60 Minutes. Obama talks about, and I said this earlier, Obama talks about Iran, and we got to stop. He just mentions Iran once. He says we have to get the countries together, these 50 or 60 nations, to stop Iran from getting the nuclear bomb. And he says that with a straight face. Like, are you kidding me over here? After you gave $150 billion back to Iran? Come on, man. This is, really, tell us who you are. Step to the plate. You're not an American, that's for sure. Illegal President Obama, he's no American. He's a foreign national, Muslim from Indonesia, Barry Soetoro, Russian KGB agent. Absolutely. And it all comes out because when he sits down and talks, he talks about, and then when he talks about Syria, he talks about Russia, Syria, ISIL. Not one time did he mention Iran in that context with Syria. Not one time. They want us to talk about Syria. They'll talk about Syria all day. They want us to talk about Syria. They do. They do. Okay, so now, looking at the whiteboard, So we got the Iranian connection with this Bergdol trade, which we know was Bergdol was a subterfuge. Was oh yeah, right? Because I was going into the ruse thing, which is Charles Krautенheimer. I got this thing ruse, Ruse word, which I heard of obviously, but he used it in the context of the geopolitical, which I thought was really cool because I usually use the word subterfuge, which is like a is like a deception. So a ruse, I'll look it up again. I looked it up on the RUSE. Ruse is an action intended to deceive someone, a trick. So, like, I believe, because the next transaction here is Hamas, the Palestinian Authority government, and Syria. Now, we know, and I talk about this every week. We know, we know that, we know that Obama has petitioned more than one time the there are federal statutes that don't allow the United States government to give money to terrorist entities. And at the time, this was like 2014, if I'm not mistaken, 2014. Hamas was dropping bombs. Hamas was getting very active with Israel, and they're starting to get again. Why am I not shocked? And what happened was Obama, obviously here's this, I'm looking for the letter, right? Obama's petitioning, well, he's not petitioning, he's, obviously the Congress has to, Congress appropriates the money, right? Truth be told, United States Constitution. But and the federal statutes don't allow United States money, United States taxpayers' dollars to go to terrorist entities. Hamas deemed a terrorist entity. NCTC.gov website, 1997 under Clinton, Hamas, Palestinian branch of Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist entity. They have a cooperative agreement with Palestinian Authority government, which is a FTO as well. Mohammed Abbas, the stuff that he's been saying is unbelievable. And the UN is looking to give Hamas recognition, Palestinian Authority recognition. It's crazy stuff, you know. But anyway, what I'm driving at is Obama more than one time waived the federal statutes under national security and humanitarian aid and sent hundreds of millions of dollars with John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas. To Hamas. It's all in the articles. It's all in mainstream press. I don't have the articles in front of me, but he did that. Now, what I do have in front of me is something I want to read to you all. This is a letter from 88 senators dated June 11, 2014. The letter starts from 88 senators, 44 Republican, 44 Democrat. This is the letter. We understand, I'm paraphrasing, the administration's dedication to achieving a two-state solution. Okay, right. Unfortunately, the recent formation of a Palestinian Authority unity government supported by Hamas, a designated foreign terrorist organization that has never publicly accepted the quartet principles represents a serious setback to efforts to achieve peace. We are gravely concerned that the formation of this government and President Abbas's renewed effort to upgrade the status of the Palestinians within international organizations will jeopardize direct negotiations with Israel to achieve a two-state solution. They don't recognize the existence of Israel. So if the Palestinian Authority government, obviously Hamas, doesn't recognize that Israel has a right to exist, how could they enter into negotiations with them, quite frankly? By its actions and inaction, Hamas has demonstrated it is not a partner for peace, obviously. Hamas has openly called Israel's destruction for Israel's destruction. Hamas leaders again repeated their refusal to meet recognized international demands, recognition of Israel, renunciation of terror, and acceptance of previous Israel PLO agreements. Recent events have consequences as to the United States assistance to the Palestinian Authority as provided for in the Palestinian Anti-Terrorism Act of 2006 and restrictions contained in the Omnibus Appropriations Act of 2014, including prohibiting foreign assistance to Hamas or any power-sharing government of which Hamas is a member or over which Hamas has undue influence. These troubling developments, including the role played by Hamas in the formation of the government, have undermined congressional support for United States assistance to the Palestinians. Any assistance should only be provided when we have confidence that this new government is in full compliance with the restrictions contained in current law. We urge you to continue to impress on President Abbas the need for him to cease any alliance with terrorist organizations such as Hamas and to return to the negotiating table with Israel. And this was signed by 88 United States senators. And then the United States Senate, she was the chairman of the time of the United States Senate Affairs Committee, Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, Dianne Feinstein. She went so far as to say, how do we know, when Hillary Clinton was petitioning, John Kerry was petitioning, how do we know that the money that we're sending to this Palestinian Authority government / Hamas is not being used for humanitarian aid, but being used for terror? How do we not know that? That they're going to use this money out, that they're going to use this money for terror? How do we not know that? Those are the kind of questions these United States senators were asking. These are Democrats and Republicans. Crazy stuff, right? So that's one. And what's really crazy about that thing with Hamas, we got the Washington Free Beacon article, which they use to support their article, the Congressional Record Service. The Congressional Record Service claims that Iran gives Hamas tens of millions of dollars, plus rockets. So they are a surrogate. We are defining them. When they materially support, when Iran materially supports Hamas, Syria, when Iran materially supports Al-Qaeda, when Iran materially supports Hezbollah, we're saying that's the definition of a surrogate. Material support, weapons and money. Okay? Do I have a check made out to Hamas from Barack Obama's bank account? No. Do I have a picture with Obama in the tanks pressing the button, sending rockets over to land on Israel? I don't. But what I do have is a letter from 88 United States senators urging the president to stop sending this assistance money to the Palestinian Authority government in June of 2014. That's what I do have. And I believe that's statistically significant. 44 senators, United States senators, 88, 44 Republican, 44 Democrat. So what's really crazy is this can be construed as the president sending, and John Kerry and Hillary Clinton sending United States taxpayers' dollars to Hamas in a form of national security and humanitarian aid. And knowing that Hamas is a front for the Iranian government. So what are we doing here? Are we giving money back to Iran to help them evade the sanctions? To embolden Iran? To enrich Iran? Our enemies. They've killed thousands of Americans. That's one. Syria. Now, Syria, we sent $500 million to Syria, according to the records that I've seen, to prop up this Syrian rebel army to fight Assad. And it's my understanding, I don't have the letter in front of me, but the executive branch of the United States government, the Obama administration, sent a letter to the United States Senate claiming that Assad used chemical weapons on on the uh, on the Syrian people. Okay, and that's the red line that Obama talked about. That's the ruse, according to Charles Krautenheimer. I mean, I got to use this word. I would say subterfuge. That's the ruse. That's an action intended to deceive someone, a trick. He's never going to go after Assad. He was never intending to go after Assad. His only intention is to get this Iranian nuke deal. It just covers his bases. He's sitting on global nuclear proliferation, according to the Lee Smith article. Iran already has the bomb. I believe that's statistically significant. Why Iran already has the bomb? If North Korea's got the bomb, Iran's got the bomb. It's statistically significant, I believe. So he's sitting on global nuclear proliferation. And so since he's sitting on that, he's covering his bacon. He's saying, okay, I'm going to get this nuke deal. Give Iran whatever they want. They want $150 billion, give it to them. Give them everything. 5 Quds Force leaders. Give them allow them to allow a Levy Foundation not to be sanctioned as a terrorist entity. Allow them to function within the United States jurisdiction, even though they're in court papers in a judge's decision with Mohammad Zarif, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, 2002, 2007, executive director of the Levy Foundation. Yet, we allow them to run around and within the United States jurisdiction, nothing's wrong. Like the CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations, like ICE, the Islamic Society in North America, like the North American Islamic Trust. And we talk about this every week, the 5 Marines that got whacked in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the NAIT, those 3 groups are part of the Holy Land. That's the Hamas financing. Sending money to Hamas, to Iran. It's all going to Iran. Truth be told, gun to your head. Who do you think's getting this money? These are gangsters. Now, getting back to this ruse with Syria. So I'm watching this 60 Minutes interview, right? He don't mention Iran. He talks about Russia. Excuse me. He talks about the Syrian rebels. He talks about ISIL. He don't mention ISIS because ISIS, then he's talking about Iran. I figured that out. ISIS is Iran. Anything about the creation, America creating ISIS? No. They're just whatever Iran wants, they're supporting. Hey, I'm beginning to believe the Iranian defector that says that America is talking on behalf of Iran, the American negotiators, not talking on behalf of the other countries. They're talking on behalf of Iran. They're even coming to us with pitching us on this deal to sell us the deal on Iran's behalf. Crazy stuff, right? You could thank Bill Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton, and John Kerry for that, and obviously the illegal President Barack Obama. So Syria, now, he doesn't mention Iran. He talks about ISIL, Syrian rebels, so they shut that program down, right? It's my understanding. They shut that program down. They supposedly, from the $500 million, they trained 4 to 5 are left. There was up to 50, according to CENTCOM, this Pentagon. I'm not too familiar with this, but they, according to this, I saw it on. I forgot the show I saw it on, but a general. I couldn't find it. Let me see if I can find it. I couldn't find it earlier. CENTCOM, and 50 Syrian rebel fighters. Okay. See, they'd say they trained only 4 to 5. So what happened to the money? You know, what happened to the money? They said recently they came out with an article. They shut it down. The program shut down. The $500 million program that's supposed to put together the Syrian rebel machine to go after Assad. They shut it down. It was a ruse. It was a ruse. RUSE. It was a subterfuge. It was a distraction. It was a deception. It was a deceptive move. It was a trick. They were never going to do it. They were never going to attack Assad. If they attack Assad, you think Iran's going to sit down and work out any sort of deal with this Obama administration? Are you crazy? Just don't forget, Washington Free Beacon, Congressional Record Service, Iran gives Syria $3.5 billion to $15 billion. Kenneth Tillerman, author of Dark Forces, Truth About Benghazi, he claims Iran gives Syria $6 billion annually. So whatever that number is, it's in the billions. So Assad is fronting for Iran. Okay? And then we got Russia coming into play. I talked about it last week. Putin entered into a $5 billion agreement with oil agreement with Iran. It's a 5-year deal, 5-year agreement. So is it about the oil? I don't know. According to, I can't believe this, but I'm gonna, good old the one we love, Monica Crowley from the Newsmax. She says it's the oil, stupid. That's what Russian President Putin is really up to in Syria. Putin began his significant military deployment to Syria. Observers have tried to get a handle on his motives, from propping up his ally Syrian President Assad, to using the intervention as a distraction from his Ukraine intervention, to weakening NATO, to satisfying the goals of the Russian Orthodox Church, to reestablishing a long-term strategic foothold in Middle East. All these motives may be true, she claims, but the seizing control of the majority of the world's oil is the thing that she claims to be the major motive. Including Mr. Obama, some have dismissed Putin's motives as ill-conceived and a sign of weakness, but Putin has never been naive or aimless. She claims that Putin pursues Russia's national interest and its overriding interest in reviving the Russian economy, which has been gutted by economic sanctions and cheap oil, and positioning Russia to be the globe's oil overlord. Okay. Now this is interesting because she brings in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is a big enemy of Iran, and it's really interesting because obviously Russia has a stake with Syria, therefore has a stake with Iran, and this whole thing is really crazy. So with all this going on, right? I'm going to get into it. Let me finish this, then we'll say. Now, cheap oil has most irritated Putin, which is why his Syrian adventure is really about directly threatening the nation doing Moscow the most harm, Saudi Arabia, by encircling it with the new Russian-led alliance of Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and gaining control over the north, the natural, it's late at night, natural gas pipeline that originates in Iran and runs through all 3 countries. This explains Mr. Putin's new intelligence sharing alliance with Tehran, Baghdad, and Damascus. This is basically to track, I'm paraphrasing, to track the Islamic to ISIS. This is basically to track ISIS, but really directed against the competing Saudi, Qatar, Turkey pipeline. Interesting. Mr. Putin had long held the European gas market hostage to Russians' reserves, rather than permit the Iran, Iraq, Syria pipeline to threaten that control. He intends to grab effective control over it, thereby suffocating Saudi oil interests and seizing an even fiercer stranglehold over the European energy market. He's going to, wow. He's going to destroy the mother of all oil producers. I guess the Saudi, in the face of a glut of a year ago, the Saudis, that's right, in the face of a glut a year ago, the Saudis raised output by 1 million barrels a day, well above their quota, to creating even, wow, surfeit, a bigger surfeit, partly to undermine U.S. shale. Okay, so Saudi raises output by 1 million barrels a day to undermine the U.S. shale producers. Okay, we know that. Saudi is they're the main oil. They've been doing this for decades. So the subsequent low oil prices have sent the Russian economy into a debt spiral. The oil and gas sector accounts for 70% of the total Russian exports, 52% of the federal budget reserves, and 60% of its gross national product. The Russian economy contracted by 2.2% in the first quarter of 2015 and by a devastating 4.6% in the second quarter. So Obama is allowing, wow. So the Russians experienced this as an economic war, and so Putin has joined both battles. Under the pretext of defeating ISIS, right, Putin has sent Russian special forces into Syria, Iraq, and is preparing to introduce up to 150 ground troops. The elite troops are not there to simply provide security, but to call in airstrikes and carry out covert missions against the Western-backed anti-Assad rebels, so that eventually Mr. Putin can argue accurately that the choice in Syria is between Assad and ISIS. Pick one. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. I think Iran has got their foot in there, and I don't believe that. I think this is all, like I said, this is all a ruse. And Obama's not gonna. Obama's out of this thing. He's a Russian KGB. He's out of this thing. He's a Russian KGB agent. Very statistically significant. Just look at all these transactions. Everything's Iran. And who does Iran have a big deal with? Russia. It all leads to Iran, then goes to Russia. It goes from Iran by way of Syria to Russia. The Russian campaign against ISIS also puts the lie to the Mr. Obama's fairy tale claim that he's fighting the terrorists aggressively. Moscow is accomplishing in a few weeks that Obama hasn't been willing to accomplish in over a year. Furthermore, Russia's air defense missiles are in Syria for a purpose other than the mere protection of the Assad regime. When Washington was given less than an hour's warning that the Kremlin was imposing, in effect, a no-fly zone in Syria, Mr. Obama had no response, and Putin pressed on, ordering Russian warships in the Caspian Sea to fire long-range cruiser missiles. Russia is surrounding Saudi Arabia with weapons, combat troops, alliances, including Egypt and Israel, designed to make Riyadh an offer it can't refuse. I don't know. Riyadh. So this is unbelievable. The Saudis can't count on Obama. They watch as he betrayed America's long-standing ally, Mubarak. Remember we spoke about this last week? And they believe Obama have already betrayed them by legitimizing Iran as a threshold nuclear power. The Saudis see now Russia on their doorstep, perhaps preparing to carve up Iraq with Iran, destabilize them in the oil supply, and even to join Tehran in prosecuting a hot war against, let me see who this is. There's so many players in this thing. I'm trying to keep up with them. Okay, it's Riyadh. Riyadh is a city in Saudi Arabia. Okay, Riyadh is Saudi's capital and main financial hub, and is on a desert plateau in the country's center. Wow. So Russia's power play is working as oil prices have ticked up recently, but Putin will not be satisfied with small victories. He's in this for the marbles. Control the oil, control the global economy, and right now the Russian reports to do both. Interesting article. Monica Crowley, Washington Times. So, wow, with the Newsmax. Crazy stuff. Iran broadcast footage of underground missile base. Okay, so before I get to this article, this was the Washington Free Beacon article, Morgan Chalfant, October 15, 2015. I just want to point this out now. So we got Hamas, Palestinian Authority government. We already shown that with Iran's involved there. Syria, we know Iran's involved there. So we have this whole thing with Obama capitulating over to Iran, which vis-a-vis through Syria goes to Russia, Russian KGB agent. He's doing all the bidding for Iran vis-a-vis that whole axis, Iran, Syria, Russia. Here's an interesting article, and we're getting ready to get out of here. Next week, Benghazi. I'm going in deep with Benghazi. I've gone in deep with Benghazi. I'm going in deeper. Okay? Next week's Benghazi. Iran broadcast footage of an underground missile facility filled with missiles and launcher units, according to state media. CNN reported that the images from the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, IRGC, Aerospace Force showed an underground tunnel allegedly located 1,640 feet under a mountain. An Iranian general said the tunnel is one of numerous missile bases in the country. The missiles in various ranges are mounted on launches in all bases and are ready to be launched. Iran will not begin a war that if enemies make a mistake. Iran will not begin a war, but if enemies make a mistake, missile bases will erupt like a volcano from the depth of the earth. The senior general also said that missiles will be fired at the command of Ayatollah. Oh, the Pentagon, here's an interesting article. If I can just get it. Okay, the Pentagon assures the ammo airdrop to Saudi rebels won't end up in enemy hands. That's what they're claiming. I don't know. The U.S. Department of Defense has revamped its effort to assist so-called moderate Iranian rebels on the ground, shifting its focus away from training to providing them with weapons and other equipment to fight the ISIL. This is such a, the Pentagon officials have confirmed that leaders of the units that will receive the U.S. taxpayer-funded military equipment will be vetted. Okay, right. U.S. supplied weapons are expected to be channeled through vetted commanders to thousands of Syrian fighters, sure. The Obama administration kickstarted its new program by airdropping a reported 50 tons of small arms of ammunition and grenades to rebels in northern Syria. Coalition forces conducted an airdrop Sunday in northern Syria to resupply local ISIL ground forces as they conduct operations against ISIL. Oh, here we go. CENTCOM. The airdrop was conducted by U.S. Air Force C-17 cargo aircraft flying from U.S. Central Command CENTCOM area of responsibility. I don't know. I just find this all so, I don't know, contrived, I guess is the right word. I just don't believe all this stuff that's going on. It's very contradictory, and it's just very hard to. Iran tested a new precision-guided ballistic missile on Sunday in defiance of the United Nations ban, signaling an apparent advance in Iranian attempts to improve the accuracy of missile arsenal. The Iranian Republic has one of the largest missile programs in the Middle East, but its potential effectiveness has been limited by poor accuracy. Here's an interesting article. The Democrat Representative Gabbard Syria's strategy, very confusing. There's no clarity. She's a Democrat from Hawaii. Criticized U.S. ground strategy in Syria, very confusing. There's no clarity. The real issue is what we're doing about it. What's the strategy on the ground in Syria? Because that's something that I'm finding very confusing, she said. There's no clarity on exactly who our enemy is, absolutely, as the United States, and what kind of mission we're trying to accomplish. We're seeing these very contradictory statements saying that from the administration saying that they're going after ISIS, but at the same token, they're allowing Turkey to bomb the Kurds, who have been our most effective, trustworthy ground allies fighting against ISIS, both in Syria and Iraq. They're saying that they're focused on getting rid of Assad and both directly and indirectly helping these rebels, many, the vast majority of which are made up of Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and other Islamic extremist groups, including ISIS, people who are sworn enemies because they're working to overthrow Assad. There are so many issues here with what's happening on the ground that I think have to be dealt with. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see what we're seeing, which is ISIS and these Islamic extremists getting stronger. And if Assad is overthrown, then we're going to see the establishment of an Islamic caliphate, Islamic State, and a great advent of people there and people around the world, as we have seen. I am strongly opposed. Listen to this. This is interesting. I am strongly opposed to a no-fly zone because of what it would entail. The Congresswoman Gabbard continued that those who support a non-fly zone should answer, are you willing to send American coalition troops on the ground in Syria to enforce a no-fly zone? Are you willing to have American planes and service members from our Air Force there enforcing that? She further argued, what we'll see then is kicking off of a major conflict that folks who are advocating to have not clearly explained what are the after effects of this. There are so many other issues in the no-fly zone that those proposing have not addressed, that there are so many other issues with the no-fly zone that those proposing have it not addressed, that I think they should be put on record to explain what they support. Okay. In other words, it's all confusing. She's confused, everybody's confused. Now, okay. So that's where we're at. All right. So what we've done tonight, just to recap quickly, because I got to get ready for the live show. We got the Hamas, the bomber and authorization to national security and humanitarian aid, money to Hamas, Palestinian Authority government. We know that's a ruse there. It's really going to Iran, conceivably, statistically significant, absolutely. And then we got Syria as well, which we know is a ruse, absolutely. That's a deception, a trick, because Obama was never gonna go after Assad, never. That's Iran. And basically, when it comes down to it, Iran through Syria is Russia. So he is a Muslim from Indonesia, Barry Soetoro, a Russian KGB agent. And we're showing it. From the Blind Sheikh's Mosque to the release of the 5 Iranian Quds forces, to the Bergdahl trade, which all leads to Iran. This all leads to Iran. Hamas Palestinian Authority government leads to Iran, and Syria leads to Iran. And Iran leads us to Syria, and Syria leads us to Russia. The big picture, Russia. The big picture. Next week, Benghazi. And we're going to show unequivocally, with Kenneth Timmerman's data, the dark forces, the truth about Benghazi, and without Kenneth Timmerman's data, statistically significant that it all wasn't a video. They knew 10 days ahead of time that what is a terrorist attack. It's not Al-Qaeda. It's Ansar al-Sharia being fronted, materially supported with weapons and money, an Iranian surrogate, part of the Iranian global terror network. The Quds Force, special forces of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, General Soleimani, when they sniffed out, they had the kidnapping out there in the Red Crescent. There was a subterfuge, another ruse to distract the Americans, and because they were talking about they had the security down, so intelligence must have said, I'm guessing, but the intelligence must have said, let's kidnap. They must have worked through intelligence and said, let them. They were probably saying, let them kidnap. They was talking about kidnapping the ambassador Stevens in exchange for the blind sheik. So what came out was there was a kidnapping of Iranians, Red Crescent. That was a ruse, a subterfuge, a trick. And what happened was the Quds Force, General Soleimani, got sniff of those air-surface missiles, the ones that they could put on their shoulder and take down the helicopter. That happened in it was in the New York Post, and it came back in a serial number that it was one of those air-surface missiles from the Libyan revolution. What revolution that was? That was one another big fake fraud mission by Obama. Because I believe, like, before I get into, because with all that going on, right, General Soleimani gets sniff of it, and they use the Ansar al-Sharia to take care of the situation. And unfortunate attack on the Benghazi mission unfortunately killed the 4 Americans with the ambassador of Stevens. And that's the lie. That's why we have to go after Benghazi. We have to know and get it out to the people so they know what really went down. That these leaders are not being held accountable. They just don't want to be responsible for anything. They just want to control the money, control the power, and control the country, but they don't want to be responsible for anything. This is the Frankie Russo Show, pre-show number 86. Yeah. Coming at you, America's Team today, RussoNation.tv. Join America's Team and get a t-shirt. We're going to do some big things with that. Frankie Russo Show, pre-show number 86. Yeah. See you in about a half an hour.